Tyler Rowland. This is where we spotlight the athletes. And today, we're going to spotlight somebody that has been involved in athletics and has had a decorated career and multiple Hall of Fames. And, of course, one of my mentors, Ashland announcer, Dicky Martin. And, Dicky, it's good to be with you here. And first off, let's talk a little bit about your career and your credentials. Talk about just some of your accomplishments and maybe some of the games that stick out in your mind.
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, thank you for having me, Tyler. It's quite an honor and a pleasure to have worked with you and continue to work with you. And I'm glad you had me on your program, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Highlights, there's so many, Tyler. I'm blessed. I really am blessed. There's been so many. I've been through state basketball championships. I've been through state football championships. I've been through state baseball championships. I've been truly blessed to be able to broadcast the Tomcats since 1976. So it's quite an honor for me. It's a pleasure. It's one of the things that keeps me going. And I've been elected to a couple of Hall of Fames, but I owe all that stuff, to the good Lord above, first of all, and to my mom and my dad and others that have taught me through the years of how to be a broadcaster and how to properly pronounce words and how to talk. And so that's who I owe it to, and that's an award. It's a great thing to have, don't get me wrong, and I'm very humbled by it. But it's a thing that, I owe a lot of people for those awards and through the years. And the other thing I need to plug is the Tomcats. I owe a lot to the Tomcats. I've been a Tomcat all my life. 69 years I've been a Tomcat since the day I was born. Yeah. And so I've been blessed. The Tomcats I owe a lot to. They've kept me going. They've accepted me through the years, through the good, and there's been some bad. But we've been through it, and I've been ups and downs, a heck of a lot more ups and downs. But it's been quite a ride, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm going to keep going till I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned your mom and dad, and of course, two very special people. And let's start by talking about because with both of them, of course, from your parents. I mean, you have one that was a radio broadcaster, right, and then the other that, if I'm correct, and I forgot to mention this in the pre-interview, but that taught English. I remember you mentioned. So talk about how that all shaped you into the broadcaster you are.
Being a broadcaster, I started out when I was in grade school and junior high. I would go to the games with my dad, and I would keep the scorebook. I wasn't on the air yet. And then as I grew older, he decided that you've been keeping the scorebook or the statistics over the years. I'll let you announce the stats at halftime. So that was my first time on the air, is when I would announce the statistics at halftime, and that was a big deal for me. And my mother would tape all the broadcasts. She was an English teacher for 38 years and a counselor and all that kind of stuff. But she was brought up as an English teacher, so she knew how to talk. She knew for me to pronounce my words, how to put sentences together, not to say this and to say that, and she taught me how to talk, because after every ball game, she would have taped it, or my dad, and we'd go back and listen, and she'd say, "No, honey, that's not the way you pronounce that word, and that's not the way you use that in a sentence," and she would try to continue to expand my vocabulary, and I'd still try to do that all the time, is expand your vocabulary, and by reading and watching other broadcasters and stuff. And then, of course, there's my dad, who was a Hall of Famer and still is, and in my mind, he was the best around. My brother and I were very fortunate to have my dad as a broadcaster, because my brother, of course, was in the broadcasting business as well, and he was A+, number one, taught us everything we know, and that I owe him and my mom I owe them everything, because if it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't be where I am today.
That's awesome. And coming into Putnam Stadium now, you see the Dick and Dicky Martin press box.
Oh boy!
Describe the feeling of that when that happened.
Well, it was an afternoon, and Greg Jackson and Donna Childers called me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm out wherever I was. You got a minute? Could you meet us over at the stadium for a few minutes?" And this was not on a Friday. This was like on a Monday or a Tuesday. And I said, "Well, sure." And so we go. I met them over at the stadium, and they walked me into the stadium, and I look up, and they said, "I want you to look up at that press box." And Mark Maynard was there too. And they said, "We just got approval from the Ashland Board of Education. We're going to name the press box after you and your father." And I went, well, and I used several expletives because I couldn't believe it. Number one, it should be named for my father, not for me. It's my dad. He's the man that did it. It wasn't Dicky. It's Dick. He was the man that put it together, but I'm very honored that they put my name up there as well. And I don't know why they put my name up there. Maybe because I've lasted longer than my father. I don't know. My dad did the games for 30-some-odd years, and I'm 47 now. But anyway, I'm quite honored and still humbled. And I still am to that day, and I get teared up, and I'll walk in the stadium, and I'll look up, and I know my dad's with me. I know he'll say, "Dicky, that's not the right thing to do. That's not the right thing to say." I know he's with me every line of the broadcast, and that's good, But it was my dad. If I would name the press box what it should be named, the Dick and Jeannie Martin press box. Because they're the ones that taught. My dad was a broadcaster, and my mother was a teacher for 38 years, and they're the ones that taught me what to do and what not to do. And that's the real name of the press box. I never use my name on the broadcast that I'm broadcasting from the Dicky Martin press box. It's always the Dick Martin press box, because it's the Dick Martin press box in my opinion. And I'm quite honored, and it's quite an honor. Nothing like that has ever been done for me, and it means the world. It means the world to me.
Yeah, I know one reason your name is on that press box. You mentioned the 47 years, but there's also the Hall of Fames. They say it all, and if you're watching this and looking to get into broadcasting, this is somebody that you can definitely learn a lot from. And I'm going to start off with a sentence, because you're going to know what it is. If you dress like a professional,
then you'll act like a professional, you'll be a professional, and you can perform your job as a professional. And it all starts, and I was taught that from my father, but then later taught that by Jim Host and by Kaywood Ledford. You walk in the gym, you walk in the stadium, walk in wherever you're walking in. If you're dressed like a professional and you act like a professional, you'll be a professional, and you will show that you are a professional, whether you're on TV or the radio or whatever happens to be. You can't walk in with a ball cap and blue jeans and a t-shirt. That's not going to get it done. You got to walk in, dress nicely. And nowadays, years ago, I would wear sport coats and ties to the ball games. And now we've kind of gotten out of that, and I wear sweaters or sweater vests. I love sweater vests, but that's the way it is. You be a professional, and it doesn't just stand for broadcasting. It stands for whatever you may be doing in life. An accountant, a doctor, a salesman at J.C. Penney's or whatever it happens to be. Be a professional. Look the part, act the part, and be the part, and you will be the part. You will be a professional. Mm-hmm. And Brian Milam, who's a good friend of mine at WKYT in Lexington, he and I always kid back and forth. He's a great broadcaster, and I had the honor of helping him start out many, many years ago when I was doing the Moorhead games, and I taught him the same way, like I teach everybody that wants to listen. be a professional. Be a professional at your job. Act the professional. And when I first started out, I was no more a professional than my dog. I was not a professional. I didn't look the part, didn't act the part, and got thrown out of gyms. That's not being a professional. You're not a professional when you get thrown out of a football stadium or a basketball gym. You're not a professional. You're not doing it right. So, yeah, be a professional in whatever you do.
And if you were coming into the profession today, what are some tips that you would give to somebody who expressed, just like I did at halftime of, it was Ashland and Lawrence County, the women's game, around this time in 2019,
Wow.
and what advice would you give to somebody starting out?
The advice that I've gotten from my dad, Jim Host, Kay Wood Ledford, the other broadcasters I've been around, the Marty Brennemans and Al Michaels, watch them on television, listen to them on the radio, get their feel for the game, and then if you feel you still want to be in this broadcasting business, then you really got to put your mind to it. You got to start getting the job done. You got to go to people that you respect and you think that are good in this industry and say, okay, what do I got to do? Well, the first thing I was taught from my father and Kay Wood Ledford was be prepared. You can't walk in the stadium, you can't walk in the gym with a legal pad and a pen and a paper and go and say, okay, I'm here, it's time to broadcast the game. It doesn't work that way. You got to do your research, you got to search things out. You got to have statistics, as many as you can handle in your poor old brain, and my poor old brain ain't like it used to be. But you got to know those things, and go on a broadcast with them. When people like Jim Host and Kay Wood Ledford and my father and Marty Brenneman and these guys, welcome me into their broadcast booth, so to speak. Pay attention to what they're doing, and that's the same way I am. Tyler Rowland wants to be a broadcaster. Come be on the broadcast with me. I'm not the greatest broadcaster ever. If you want to learn, I can help you. And others can help you as well. There's plenty of guys out there that are good at what they do in the radio business. And that's one of the things you got to do. You got to learn. Go on a broadcast with them. Maybe not say anything the first 2 or 3 broadcasts, but sit there with the headsets on and see what I'm doing, or see what Kay Wood or my dad or whoever was doing, or Marty Brenneman. See what they're doing. How do they prepare? How do they talk? What are they doing? And I urge people to do that. But you've got the big thing. You got to prepare. That's the biggest thing in the whole wide world. Is you got to prepare for a broadcast, and I think I've taught you that. You got to be ready. You got to be ready, and that doesn't mean the day of the game you sit down and you try to memorize, 6 or 8 players or 15 or 20 if you're doing football. You got to start days ahead, especially in basketball now when I've got 2. This week I got 4 basketball games. Every night I'm studying. Every night I am studying rosters, statistics, the history of who the Tomcats are playing, or the Kittens, whatever they may be. You got to know that stuff to make the broadcast good and make the broadcast interesting and enjoyable, because we're entertainment. That's what we are. We entertain. It's like going to the movies. They pay $3 to get in the movie, or 10, whatever it is now. The same thing with me. They turn their radio on. They expect to be entertained, and that's what I try to do.
And a little bit into that preparation process, say you've got a game coming up and you have, I don't know, let's say you've got, for example, Ashland and Boyd County coming up in, say, 4 days. What is that you start preparing tonight? What is it? Guide me through your process.
Well, if it's a football game, I'm very lucky that my football coaches, Chad Tackett and his staff, always let me have the film. I watch the film of the previous game, and then they always send me scouting reports and film of the next week's opponent. So I'm always studying that. I can look and see and Chad takes his film and really breaks it down and says, little Jimmy, you missed a block here, or Johnny, you missed a block there, and you should have run right instead of left, or, those type of things, so I can pick up on that. And then he will help me with scouting reports on if we were playing Boyd County or Russell or for the state championship in E-Town. I get a scouting report and I study it. And then that all starts, I watch the film on Sundays because that's when we get it back. Of the previous game and the upcoming game. And on Mondays, I start on statistics if it's a football game. And Tuesday, I'm memorizing the Tomcats. And on Wednesday, I'm probably memorizing our opponent. And on Thursday, I'm doing coaches' interviews. And I'm talking about all this in the evening. So that's what I do because I'm at Modern Foods during the day. And I have a great boss in Charlie Chatfield. I got to get a plug. He lets me do this stuff. So anyway, so it's so on Thursdays I'm preparing, and Chad and I talk, and then I just kind of recap and summary of what I've done the previous 3 or 4 days, and I'm ready for Friday. Basketball season's a little tougher. Basketball, like this week, I got 4 games. Well, I've already started preparing. I prepared last night for Ashland's game on Saturday against Chapmanville. I've got Fairview already done, and so basketball's tougher just because it's tougher in a way because there's so many games in a week, but there's not as much statistical information and there's not as many players that you have to know that Jones is number 10 and Smith is number 11 and all that kind of stuff, So I don't have to memorize all the players as much as I would in football, but it's a nightly thing. I don't get many nights to sit down and watch a television game or a Kentucky basketball or football game. I like Saturdays because I get to watch college football. I love college football. Oh, I love college football. And so I get to do that. But, for the most part, it's an everyday job. Now, you don't work 8 hours, preparing. You might work 2 hours on Tuesday and a couple hours on Wednesday and, those type things. So it's not a total 9 to 5 thing. But you add all that up, and then the game on Friday night at Putnam Stadium, you put in a lot of hours to get ready to go.
When it comes to a challenge you're facing, what would you say that over your broadcasting career, what was maybe the biggest challenge that you had to overcome?
The biggest challenge is probably being, and nothing against people in Eastern Kentucky. I love them. And for the most part, they love me. But you've got to learn how to not to talk like you're from Eastern Kentucky. That might have been the biggest problem that I had is people in Eastern Kentucky, they seem to have long eyes, Pikeville, 10. Though there are words that my mother always taught me that you got to get away from. The word is not Pikeville; it's Pikeville. The word is 10, not 10. That's one of the biggest challenges I had is learn how to speak, learn how to talk, learn how to put words together. Because broadcasting is all ad lib, as you well know. You don't have a script sitting there in front of you going, like the president, going, okay, that question was from, you don't have that. The play changes every down or every second in basketball. So the challenge is learning how to speak and how to pronounce words properly. That's one of the biggest challenges I ever had. Don't be a monotone. Monotones are good, but don't be a monotone. You got to use get excited. Get excited about the Tomcats or get excited about the Wildcats or the whoever the case may be. I've done other games. I haven't done all Tomcats all my life, but 99% of them have. But I go to the state tournament or the regional tournament or other tournaments and Moorheads and stuff. Get excited. Little Johnny made a great pass there. That was a great shot by Sammy, those type things. Get excited. Get them into the game. You're entertaining. That's what you do.
People get to know you better. Yeah. First off, I don't think we could talk about getting to know you better without talking about your grandkids.
There you go. That's what keeps me going. my 4 grandchildren who I love dearly. And there are things that people ask me all the time, Tyler, and you probably have asked me this. Dicky, how long are you going to keep broadcasting? Well, I was blessed to be able to be, I'm pretty good at what I do, okay? And I'm not bragging on myself, but I do a good job, People tell me, Dicky, I know where the ball is and who made the basket and who scored the touchdown, and I know the score because that's something my dad, he put an egg timer in front of me when I first started. And if he said, if you let this egg timer run out, that means you're not doing your job. You got to give the score. It's 6-0 Tomcats. It's 14-10 Lions or whatever the case. Give the score. People, that's why they tune you in. Want to know the score. So that's one thing. There's several things. How long are you going to keep doing it? I don't know. I keep telling the good Lord, one day I'm going to walk out of Anderson Gym or Putnam Stadium or my home or my church, and the good Lord's going to say, Dicky, that's it. And I'm going to be happy. I've accomplished a lot. I've done a lot. I've thoroughly enjoyed what I've done. Not that I'm sick now, but I'll keep going as long as the good Lord gives me breath. I'm going to keep going. And it keeps me young to do this. I'm around the Tomcats. First of all, I'm around my family, my 2 kids and my 4 grandchildren. That keeps me young, chasing them around and going to their ball games and da-da-da-da-da and their cheerleading and all that kind of stuff. That keeps me young. But these Tomcats, for 46, 47 years now, have kept me young. 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, and I'm learning their language because there's a lot of slang out there now that I don't know what that means. And I'll say Caleb or Nate or Xander or Braxton, I'll say, guys, I don't know what you're talking about. You got to help me here. And so they teach me their slang. That keeps me young. That's what keeps me young and keeps me going, because I thoroughly enjoy it. And as long as the good Lord gives me breath, I'm going to be here doing the Tomcats, I promise you.
That is awesome. and also, do you feel like as loved as you are within the Ashland base and as many years as you've done this, do you feel like with opponents, do you feel like you're misunderstood?
With some, yes. With most, no. Because I've grown to know, because I've been around so long, I've grown to know our rivals. And Ashland is a rival for everyone. And it's hard to believe, but it's the truth. It's the truth. We're a rival. That we are the Super Bowl of everybody's. And I don't say that, bragging, but that's just the way it is. Ashland is the Super Bowl. When you see the Tomcats on your schedule, that's the Super Bowl. So, but I've learned to with the coaches and administrators and players through the years, once they understand where I'm coming from, and I tell them straight up, guys, I'm looking through maroon-colored glasses. They know that. I'm a Tomcat, and that's the way I'm going to call it. I'm a maroon-colored. And I always say this, and I don't really mean it, but I kind of do mean it. If you don't like the way I broadcast, there's a knob on that radio that says off and on. Turn it off. Go someplace else. There's one that says tuning. Go someplace else. I've got my thousands and thousands of listeners, and I appreciate each and every one of them, and I think they appreciate me, or they wouldn't keep tuning in. So that's basically the way we do it, and for the most part, no, I'm not misunderstood. But there are people out there that the word's not don't like, but they put up with me. They tolerate me, basically. But there's other guys that I walk in a gym, at Boyd County. I'll walk in and there's Pete Fraley meeting me at the door. He and I get along just marvelously. We're good friends, and that's true with any coach that's left here and now is at another school. Oh, it's great to see you, Buddy Biggs at Fleming County or whatever, And so, that's just the way it is. And those guys know me. They know I'm a Tomcat. And that's exactly. And if I'm the Tomcat, then Buddy Biggs, he's the Fleming County Panther, So that's what it is. I know he's a Panther and I'm a Tomcat, and we're going to do battle. And after it's over with, we're going to hug and love on each other and say, great job tonight. See you down the road. And that's the way we are.
Yeah. And what would be a cool fact about yourself? Maybe doesn't have to necessarily be announcing related, but something that maybe not a lot of people know.
Ooh, great question, Tyler. I've taught you a little bit, haven't I? People don't know. I don't know, because I'm pretty transparent. I don't, and I have a problem with that at times, because my minister at church, I talked to him about this. I said, everything's black and white to me. I don't have much of a gray area, and I need to have a better gray area rather than everything is a yes or a no. Well, not everything is like that. You need to have a little bit of a gray area. But I'm so transparent, I'm not sure there's anything that people don't know about me. I mean, they know basically who I am. If they don't know me, then I'll introduce myself. And, I've heard of you, or I haven't heard of you, and so forth and so on. And, that's a great question, because I really don't know if there's, I'm pretty, open-minded. I wear everything on my sleeve, so, that's just the way it is, and people, for the most part, accept me like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the last question, of course, I always turn to the camera for this one. Are there, for you, are there any shout-outs or any message to the Tomcat fan base you'd like to leave?
Well, first of all, I got to thank the good Lord. He's the man to put me on this earth, and has let me be around for 69 years now and doing what I love. My mom and dad, I know they're listening. They're with me right now. I know that. They know that. They're with me all the time. But I love my children, Jamie and Whitney. They're just, I've been very blessed to have two great children, and then my 4 grandchildren, Maddox and Mia and Quinn and Wyatt. They're just wonderful. And then, you got to think, we're sitting here in the Tomcat basketball dressing room, and I look around, and Tyler, I've been involved in every picture up here but one, the 1920-18. The picture right over there of the 1920-18. But I've been around for all of them. There's the 61 team, the 76 and the 96 and the 67, and Coach Mays, and there's Ryan Bonner when he's played. I've been around for all that stuff. You know how lucky I am to be around for all that? I mean, that's amazing. I look over here, and there's Ellis Johnson. That was my dad's best friend. And Jimmy Anderson, I had the pleasure of being around when Jimmy was alive. And when Dirk dedicated this gym in his name, that was all Dirk Payne. He did every bit of that. He made this the James A. Anderson Gym, and that's what it should be. It should be the James A. Anderson Gym. So you got Ellis and Jimmy Anderson up there. So every picture that's in here, I've been involved in. What a blessing. I'm so lucky to have known all these kids, all these adults now, and even going back to Ellis Johnson and Jimmy Anderson. My goodness. One lucky son of a gun right here I am.
Yes, nicely said. And Dicky, we thank you for all you do and for being on. Hopefully we'll, of course, continue to get to see for a long time, and be sure to check out, and be sure to check out Dicky Martin on 93.3, and as he broadcasts the Ashland Tomcats, home and away. And we want to say God bless you. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I'm Tyler Rowland. This is Spotlighting the Athletes. Good night, everybody.